The year was 2248. Space travel between Earth and Mars had become normal. Hundreds of ships flew every day. Some were for cargo, some for business, and some for rich people who wanted comfort in space. On one such ship, Starpath Flight 917, a quiet woman waited in line to board. Her name was Tara Min. She wore a plain gray coat, simple shoes, and carried only a small silver bag. Nobody looked at her twice. She looked like an ordinary worker or maybe a low-level engineer. But she was not. Tara Min was the CEO of Solrise Systems, one of the biggest companies in the solar system. Her company made engines for starships, clean air systems for Mars colonies, and helped build the first human city on Titan. But today, she didn't want to be known. She had booked this flight under her middle name, Tara Lynn, and used a regular ticket, no bodyguards, no special treatment. She wanted to see for herself how normal people were treated on interplanetary flights. It was her way of checking reality. Tara had paid for a first-class seat on the top deck of the ship. It was supposed to come with better food, a quiet cabin, a zero-gravity bed, and clean windows to watch the stars. She showed her digital ID and boarding pass to the flight gate. The boarding gate was controlled by an AI machine, but it was monitored by a tall man with shiny boots and a proud voice. His name was Kel. He was the senior flight supervisor. He looked at Tara, then looked at the ID screen, and then back at her. "Is this a joke?" he said, his voice loud and mocking. "This ID says you're in first class." Tara smiled politely. "Yes, that's correct," he frowned. "No, this doesn't make sense. This pass belongs to someone important." "That would still be me," Tara replied calmly. Kel laughed. "I don't think so. You don't look like someone who belongs in first class. We have rules against fraud. You can either go back and pay again, or we'll have you removed." The other workers watched silently. Some looked away. No one tried to help. Tara could have argued, could have shown her special CEO ID, or made a call, but she didn't. She looked at her pass, then at the long line behind her. She didn't want to create a scene. "That's fine," she said softly. "Put me in any available seat." Kel smiled in a way that was not kind. "Great. We'll find you a seat in Zone 5 back row." He pressed a few buttons, and the system changed her seat. Tara walked quietly through the gate and into the ship. Inside, the ship looked clean but tired. Walls were scratched, the air smelled like plastic and metal, and the safety posters were old. She walked past first class, where big chairs and soft lights made the cabin look like a luxury hotel. Crew members poured drinks and joked with rich passengers. Then she walked past business class, then comfort class, then all the way to Zone 5 where the lights flickered, and one of the seats was held together with tape. Her new seat was in row 34, beside a crying baby and across from a man who looked sick. Still, Tara didn't complain. She sat down, placed her bag under the seat, and stared out the small round window. Behind her, she could hear crew members laughing. "Did you see that woman try to pass herself off as first class?" One said, "Yeah, what a joke. She's lucky we even let her on." Another said that Tara heard it all. She had a small implant behind her ear that let her connect to local signals. She could hear the ship's public systems and even the crew's personal comms. She didn't respond. She simply opened her silver bag, pulled out a small tablet, and began typing. She made a log of the gate interaction. Flight, Starpath 917. Time, 7:12 used event. Denied boarding to paid first-class seat, reason given. Don't look important. Action taken. Moved to Zone 5 without proper check, crew involved. Supervisor Kel. Badge ID, KL-203. Tara had done many things in her life. She had negotiated with Martian warlords, made peace between mining unions and corporations, and led teams into the storms of Europa. But now, sitting in the last row of a passenger ship, she felt something deep, a quiet fire rising inside. It wasn't about her ego. She didn't care about comfort or fancy meals. She cared that people were treated with respect. She cared that rules were fair for everyone, not just the rich or the powerful. If this was how they treated her, someone who could buy the company with a single call, how were they treating others? She looked to her right. The baby had stopped crying. Its mother looked tired but smiled weakly at Tara. Tara smiled back. The engines hummed as the ship began to shake slightly. A voice came over the speakers, preparing for departure. Please remain seated and secure all belongings. The stars outside were beginning to move. The earth slowly shrank in the window. Tara closed her tablet. She leaned back in the thin, hard seat and whispered to herself, "Let's see what happens in the next 30 minutes." The ship moved quietly through space. Earth was now a small blue dot far behind. Starpath Flight 917 was flying toward Mars with over 300 passengers on board. Most of them were resting, reading, or trying to sleep. The lights were dim, and the cabin was silent except for the low hum of the engines. But Tara Min was not resting. She sat in row 34, her tablet in her hand, her eyes on the system logs. She had already recorded 3 serious problems: abusive passengers, poor medical response, and dangerous system overrides. Now she was watching the ship's safety data in real time. Something was wrong again. The oxygen balance in Zone 5 had dropped by 2%. The filters were old and dusty. The crew had ignored the alert. Tara made another note in her report. As she worked, she thought back to where it all began. Years ago on Mars, Tara was born in a small underground dome on Mars, in a mining colony called Red Hollow. Her mother worked in the oxygen farm. Her father was a machine fixer. They had no luxuries, just clean water, dry food, and recycled air. When Tara was 10, there was a leak in their dome. The company in charge refused to help. Too expensive, they said. People got sick. Some died. Tara's parents survived, but she never forgot how the company treated them, like numbers, not like people. She studied hard. She worked in engineering camps and went to school through solar scholarships. At 23, she joined a small startup working on clean engines. At 29, she became the owner. That company grew and became Solrise Systems, the safest, cleanest, and most honest space tech company in the system. Now at 42, Tara had everything: power, respect, and wealth. But she still remembered how it felt to be ignored, left behind, and disrespected. That's why she traveled like this, in secret, without her name or status, to see how real people were treated when no one was watching. And what she had seen today made her heart heavy. Back in the ship, Tara looked around. Crew hadn't returned to Zone 5 since the ship left Earth orbit. The air felt stuffy. The baby beside her was now sleeping, but the mother still looked tired. The sick man was doing better, thanks to the oxygen strip Tara gave him. But no crew member had checked on him. She checked the system logs again. A new problem had appeared. The navigation AI was running on emergency mode. The ship's full guidance system had been set to manual override, controlled by the crew. This was not normal. Under law, this was only allowed during serious space emergencies, like meteor storms or reactor issues. But there was no danger. The ship was in open space, on a clear route. Tara looked deeper into the log. The manual override had been activated by Kel, the same supervisor who pushed her out of first class. He had turned it on just minutes after takeoff. Why? She found the answer in a hidden data file. Kel had changed the flight path, a shorter, riskier route near a small asteroid field. It would save fuel and time, but it would also increase heat pressure on the ship's shell and reduce safety by 40%. Tara's eyes narrowed. She knew what this was: greed. Kel and some others had likely made a private deal. By saving fuel, they could report high efficiency and earn extra credits. From performance bonuses, they were risking hundreds of lives for money. Tara added all of it to her growing report. Oxygen drop in Zone 5 navigation. I overridden by Kel. Unsafe shortcut taken through asteroid edge. Reason: fuel saving for personal bonus. She looked up. In the front of the ship. The crew laughed again. Tara could hear them through the comms. This new route saves us 40 minutes. More time to rest on Mars. And we'll get full pay for smart navigation, thanks to the captain's override. Who needs full AI anyway? We've done this before. They didn't care. Tara now knew the truth. This flight was not just careless, it was dangerous. If the asteroid path got worse or if solar flare activity increased, the ship could suffer serious damage. And no one in the back half of the ship would survive a failure. The emergency pods were only placed near business and first class. She closed her tablet. She took a deep breath. And then, slowly, she stood. She walked toward the front of the ship. Passengers noticed. Some whispered, wondering why the quiet woman from row 34 was walking through the cabins. Tara walked with purpose, calm but clear. She reached the main cabin gate, where a small security panel blocked entry to the crew area. She placed her thumb on the pad. The screen blinked red. Then green. Her CEO level ID, hidden in her implant, activated a secret override code, one that only top-level corporate leaders had. The door opened. Inside, the crew turned around. Kel looked up, confused. You can't be in here. This is a secure zone. Tara looked him in the eye. My name is Tara Min, CEO of Solrise Systems, partner of Starpath Command. I'm here under inspection authority. Kel laughed, thinking she was joking. But then the cockpit I chimed. Welcome, Director Tara Min. Emergency override accepted. The room went silent. Rila dropped her cup. Marcos. Mouth opened in shock. Tara stepped inside and said quietly, This flight is now under my control. The crew inside the control room froze. Kel stood near the navigation panel, confused and nervous. The woman he laughed at just 1 hour ago was now standing in front of him, not weak, not simple, but powerful and calm. Her voice carried the weight of leadership. Computer, Tara said clearly. Show full crew list and open internal log for inspection. The cockpit AI responded instantly. Confirmed. Access granted to CEO Tara Min. Displaying full crew data and flight performance log. A large screen on the wall lit up. The crew saw their own names, actions, and voice logs, everything. Recorded and now open to review. Kel stepped forward. I don't know what kind of trick this is, but you don't have the right to. Tara raised one hand. Enough. I gave you the chance to do your job with honesty. You failed. The AI voice interrupted him again. Flight control has been transferred to CEO Tara Min under code 7.17, corporate safety emergency. This code was rare. It meant a senior executive had found real danger on a flight and was allowed by law to take full control to protect lives. The co-pilot, a quiet woman named Dina, looked shocked but didn't argue. She had been trained for this. If code 7.17 was activated, she had to follow the new commander's orders. Tara turned to her. Please confirm our current route and distance from the asteroid field. Dina checked the screen. We're 20 minutes from the edge of the field. Course was changed manually by Supervisor Kel. AI navigation was disabled. Return the ship to standard route, Tara ordered. Dina nodded and started typing. Re-engaging AI navigation. Recalculating safest path. Kel shouted. You can't do this. You don't even have clearance. Tara turned slowly to him, her face calm. I built the system you're flying in. I gave it its laws. You used it for personal gain and ignored passenger safety. That ends now. She pressed. A command into the control panel. A signal was sent to Solrise HQ and Starpath Central Command on Mars. It was a direct report. Full video proof, data logs, and flight records. Everything Cal and the crew had done was now being reviewed by corporate and legal teams in real time. In the back of the ship, passengers in Zone 5 felt the ship shift slightly as it corrected its route. The sick man in row 33, now stable, looked out the window. The stars had changed position. The ship was no longer heading toward the asteroid field. The baby's mother noticed something on her screen. A message. Notice. Ship control transferred. For safety, do not worry. You are now under direct care of Solrise Systems. A quiet cheer rose among some passengers. Others looked at one another, confused but hopeful. The woman from row 34 had done something. Something big. Back in the control room, Tara reviewed more logs. The ship's water recycling system had been turned to low mode in the back cabins. The food storage had been divided unfairly. Power was redirected from zones 4 and 5 to keep entertainment systems running in first class. She didn't shout. She didn't insult anyone. She simply gave clear instructions. Unlock food reserves and begin service in zones 4 and 5 immediately. Turn all systems to equal levels for every zone. Call medical drones to inspect all sick or elderly passengers. I followed each order. The co-pilot looked at Tara with new respect. Why did you come on this flight like a regular person? Tara replied, because sometimes you have to see the truth with your own eyes. Cal stepped back, now sweating. Look, I was just following what the previous manager taught me. It's how things are done here. Everyone does it. Tara faced him again. That doesn't make it right. And now, everyone will answer for it. A message popped up on the cockpit screen. It was from Solrise Systems Command, signed by Tara's second-in-command, Jonas Hawley. Message received. Emergency authority approved. Full investigation team will be ready upon landing. Crew must surrender for questioning. Thank you, Director Min. Cal's face turned pale. The ship was now on the safest route again. The AI systems were fully online. Dina guided the flight smoothly. And the engines hummed with balance. Power, air, food, all were being shared equally. But Tara didn't relax yet. She opened the internal broadcast system and spoke for the first time to all passengers. Her voice was calm but clear. This is Tara Min, CEO of Solrise Systems. I am now in command of this flight under emergency authority. I want to personally apologize for the poor experience many of you have faced. We are correcting all systems and will make sure everyone is treated with respect, safety, and care. She paused. When I started Solrise, I promised one thing, that space would be safe for every human being, not just the rich or powerful. That promise still stands. Thank you for your patience. A new kind of flight food arrived in Zone 5. Hot, fresh meals. Not old packs. Medical bots checked passengers, offered vitamins, and scanned vitals. Stopped flickering. Tara didn't. Returned to first class. She stayed in Zone 5, helping the mother rock her baby, passing water bottles to elders, and speaking with the man who had nearly fainted. She wasn't just fixing systems. She was restoring trust. One child asked, "Are you the captain now?" Tara smiled. "Just someone who believes we all deserve better." The Martian sun rose slowly as Starpath Flight 917 entered Mars orbit. The ship's large windows showed a red and golden landscape far below. The passengers could see the silver towers of Mars Highport, one of the largest spaceports in the system. Inside the ship, things were quiet, but not in a bad way. There was no more shouting, no jokes from careless crew members, no flickering lights, and no ignored passengers. People were calm, watching screens that now showed full safety updates. And in Zone 5, the last row of the ship, Tara Min was still seated. Her coat was a little dusty, her tablet low on power, But her mind was sharp and steady. The AI announced, "Landing in 12 minutes. Please remain seated and secure all belongings." Passengers started whispering again. "That woman saved us. She's the real CEO. She should be running the whole spaceport." Tara heard their words but didn't react. She didn't want fame. She wanted change. The crew in the front cabin remained silent. Kel, the flight supervisor, sat near the wall, hands on his knees, eyes staring at the floor. Rila and Marco, the attendants from first class, looked pale and nervous. None of them spoke. A red light blinked on the command screen. Mars Command incoming message. Tara stood in the cockpit again with Dina, the co-pilot. She touched the panel, open channel. The screen lit up with the face of Chief Orlan, the head of Mars Highport's flight control. He looked serious but respectful. "Director Min, we've received your full report. Our security team is ready to meet the ship. Please confirm if emergency docking is still required." Tara answered, "Standard docking is fine. No one is in danger now." "Understood," Orlan said. "You've done something very rare today. Mars thanks you." The screen blinked off. Tara turned to Dina. "Take us in." Dina guided the ship smoothly. The landing gear opened, the engines slowed, and with a soft thud, Starpath 917 touched. The red surface of Mars at the docking bay as the ship doors opened. Passengers were surprised to see not just the usual workers, but a full team of security officers, inspectors and Solrise executives in uniform. Tara stood near the front now. Watching, Kel tried to walk past the officers, pretending to look calm. But two of them stepped forward and stopped him. "Supervisor Kel, you are under investigation for misuse of authority and endangering passengers," one officer said. Kel opened his mouth, then closed it. He knew it was over. Rilla and Marco were also stopped. The officers didn't touch them roughly. They simply showed a scanner, took their IDs, and told them to wait for questioning. Tara didn't smile. She didn't speak to them. She had already done her part. One of the officers walked up to her. "Director Min, would you like a private escort?" Tara looked at the passengers behind her. Families, workers, tourists, people who had no power, just dreams and tickets. She shook her head. "No, thank you. I'll walk with the people." And she did. As she stepped out of the ship, many passengers began to clap. It wasn't loud at first, but it grew, not wild cheering, but grateful applause. Some nodded, some smiled. One old man said, "Thank you for not forgetting us." Tara gave a small bow. A news drone flew by, taking photos. Reporters were already waiting beyond the glass walls, trying to capture the story. But Tara didn't stop. She walked calmly toward the exit, just like any other traveler. Across the system within minutes, the story spread. Breaking news. Unknown passenger on Mars flight revealed as Solrise CEO. Takes over ship mid-flight and saves 300 lives. Clips of Tara helping the sick man, feeding the baby, and standing in the cockpit played on every channel. People were shocked. Inspired, curious. On LunaNet, one comment read, "She didn't yell. She didn't fight. She just acted with wisdom and calm power. That's a real leader." On Earth, a school showed the news in classrooms. Students clapped when Tara gave her short speech about everyone deserving safety. On Titan, a worker in a frozen mine smiled as he watched the footage. Maybe someone out there really does care. At Solrise HQ, Jonas Hawley, Tara's second in command, stood at the head office, watching the news feed. When Tara walked into the building, he met her with a quiet smile. "We've already started the investigation," he said. "And Starpath has called. They're afraid, very afraid," Tara nodded. "Let them be. The system needs correction, not revenge." Jonas showed her a report. 5 more passengers from other flights have already filed safety complaints. "I think you've started something." Tara looked out the window. The stars above Mars were still shining. Good, she sighed. Then this flight wasn't just about one mistake. It's about fixing everything. A simple act, a big impact. Back at the port, the little girl from row 36 stood with her parents. She asked, "Will the lady fly with us next time?" Her mother smiled. "I don't know, sweetie. But I think because of her, every flight will be safer from now on." And the father added, "Not just flights. Maybe even the whole system." Tara Min didn't want medals or interviews. She just wanted people to fly without fear. And as the red dust of Mars rose gently around the landing site, a new future began, one led by honesty, courage, and humanity. The news of Tara Min's quiet takeover of Starpath Flight 917 spread across the solar system like fire in dry air. People were talking, not just on Mars or Earth, but even on far colonies like Europa Station and the moons of Saturn. Everyone knew about the simple CEO who was denied a seat, stayed silent, and then saved the whole ship. It became more than a story. It became a movement. At Solrise headquarters inside the tall silver tower of Solrise HQ, Tara sat with her leadership team. The room was large but plain, no gold walls, no luxury chairs. Tara liked it that way. She believed in action, not in showing off. Jonas Hawley, her second in command, stood beside a screen filled with messages, reports, and security logs. He pointed to the map. "We've now received over 12,000 reports from passengers across 37 different transport companies. People are speaking up. They're not afraid anymore." Tara nodded. "Good. Make sure we listen to every one of them. Real voices matter." Another executive, a woman named Lena, added, "We've already suspended all contracts with Starpath Airlines. Their main sponsor tried to contact us yesterday, said it was all a misunderstanding." Tara said quietly, "Safety isn't a misunderstanding. It's a responsibility." She turned toward the center of the room. "From this moment forward, I want Solrise to launch its own passenger fleet. No more working with lazy or corrupt transport companies. We'll do it ourselves, and we'll do it better." The team looked surprised. Solrise had always made engines and safety systems. Starting a passenger airline was something new. "But," Jonas said slowly, "that means building everything from scratch. New designs, new staff, new flight paths." Tara looked him in the eyes. "Then let's begin." Across the solar system, news feeds began sharing the next headline: "Solrise to launch fair flight program. Clean, equal, safe travel for all." Tara announced the plan in a short message, standing in front of a simple black wall with the Solrise logo behind her. Space travel should not be about class or money. It should be about people. Starting today, we begin a new journey, one where safety and respect are for every passenger. The message wasn't dramatic, but it reached millions. Soon, other companies began to feel the pressure. Inside a competing company in a glass office on Earth, the CEO of Veltolines, a luxury space travel company, slammed a report on his desk. "This woman is ruining everything," he shouted. "Passengers want fair prices now. They're asking for clean systems, good service, and now they're sending complaints." His assistant said carefully, Maybe we should listen to them." The CEO glared. "She's just one person. She can't change the whole system." But he was wrong. The power of a small act in a small town on Mars, an old man named Lauren boarded the local shuttle. For years, he had been pushed to the back because he used a cane and moved slowly. But this time, something was different. A young worker stopped him at the gate and said, "Sir, you can sit wherever you like. We've removed zone seating for elders." Lauren blinked. "Why?" The worker smiled. "Because a woman named Tara Min reminded the world that respect still matters." Inside Solrise Flight Labs, Tara walked through a large hangar where engineers were working on the first prototype of the new Solrise passenger ship. It had no first class or last zone. Every seat had equal space. Every area had clean air, safety pods, and comfort. Lena walked beside her. "Do you think passengers will believe in this?" "They already do," Tara replied. "Now we have to prove them right." The new ship was named Unity 1, a name chosen not by the executives, but by public vote. The ship would fly from Earth to Mars in just 10 hours, with no class levels, no extra charges for food, and a full care team on every flight. Tara made sure everything was built from the heart, not from greed. The voice of the people soon. Other CEOs began stepping down. Old systems were questioned. Young leaders rose up, inspired by Tara's calm but strong example. Videos started appearing online, passengers speaking about their experiences. "I used to be ignored on flights, not anymore. They said nothing could change. Tara proved them wrong." She never raised her voice, but she raised the standard. A student on Europa started a social group called Fly with Honor. Within 2 weeks, it had over 1 million members. Tara's silent strength. One evening, Tara sat on the rooftop of the Solrise Tower, watching the stars. Jonas joined her with 2 cups of hot steam tea. "You know," he said, handing her a cup, "you've become a symbol." Tara smiled. "Symbols fade. Actions stay. You didn't do this for attention?" "No," she said. "I did it because it was the right thing." Jonas nodded. "What now?" Tara looked at the stars. "Now we prepare for the next journey and make sure no one is ever denied their seat again." Months had passed since the events on Starpath Flight 917. The solar system was changing fast. Tara Min had become a quiet force that inspired millions. Her company, Solrise Systems, was no longer just a maker of engines and air systems. It was now a symbol of hope, fairness, and safety. The first flight of Unity 1, the day had come. The brand new Solrise passenger ship, named Unity 1, was ready for its maiden voyage. It was unlike any other ship in the system. No class divisions, no reserved seats for the rich. Every passenger had the same comfort, safety, and care. Crowd at Mars Highport cheered quietly but warmly. Journalists and families watched with smiles. Workers cleaned last-minute panels. The smell of fresh paint and metal filled the air. Tara stood at the boarding gate, dressed simply in a dark jacket and boots. Her hair was pulled back. She smiled at the waiting passengers, ordinary people, families, workers, tourists. She did not look like a CEO today. She looked like one of them. A young boy tugged at his mother's sleeve and whispered, "Is she really the one who saved the flight?" The mother nodded. "Yes, and now she's giving us all a new start." Boarding. And Unity passengers stepped onto Unity 1. The interior was bright and clean. Wide seats, large windows, and soft lights created a calm atmosphere. Nurses and helpers welcomed everyone with warm smiles. There were no divisions, no special sections, just one united cabin. Tara walked through the cabin, greeting passengers. Quietly, she stopped by the same spot where she had sat months ago, the last row. A man with a cane smiled and shook her hand. "Thank you for making this possible." Tara smiled back. "This is just the beginning." In the cockpit, Tara entered the cockpit, where her trusted co-pilot, Dina, waited. "Ready for takeoff, Director?" Dina asked with a grin. Tara nodded. "Let's fly together." The engines hummed softly. The ship lifted smoothly from the Martian surface. Outside the window, red dust faded, and stars began to shine. A message for the future over the ship's broadcast system. Tara spoke to all passengers. "Today we fly not just as travelers, but as a community. A community that believes in fairness, respect, and safety for every human being. This is the future of space travel." The cabin filled with quiet applause. Changes across the stars. News from other companies arrived daily. Many began to copy Solrise's ideas. Old rules were questioned. Passengers started to demand better treatment everywhere. Even the biggest companies could no longer ignore the voice of the people. Tara's quiet strength, back on Mars. Tara continued her work. She didn't seek fame or power. She spoke softly, but acted with firm belief. She traveled sometimes in plain clothes, sometimes flew quietly to distant colonies, checking systems and listening to people's stories. Her simple question to everyone was always the same. Are we safe? Are we respected? If not, why? A new chapter years later, when people looked back, they remembered the day a simple CEO was denied a first-class seat, but changed the future of space travel forever. Her story was told in schools, in songs, and in the laughter of children flying freely across the stars. And Tara? She kept flying, not because she had to, but because she believed humanity deserved the best. As the ship Starpath Flight 917 left Earth's orbit, Tara sat quietly in her seat in row 34, Zone 5. The seat was small, the air was dry, and the cabin lights flickered every few minutes. Still, Tara stayed calm. She had traveled through storms, on Jupiter's moons, and sat through 20-hour peace talks on Mars. A bad seat was not going to break her focus. She closed her eyes and listened. Her ear implant was still connected to the ship's communication system. It was something all Solrise executives were trained to use: quiet, legal monitoring in emergency or inspection missions. Tara wasn't doing anything wrong. She had the right to listen to public crew channels, just like every passenger had. The right to report complaints. She heard laughter through the internal crew channel. Did you see her face? She really thought she belonged in first class. She looked like a maintenance worker from Luna Base. Kel always knows how to spot a fake. No one gets past him. Tara recognized the voices. One was Kel, the supervisor who removed her from first class. The others were two flight attendants named Rilla and Marco, who were working in the luxury section. None of them knew who Tara really was. She kept listening. Another voice came through, a medical alert signal from the back cabin. Passenger 89B requesting oxygen support. Short breath, weak pulse. There was silence. Then Kel's voice returned, annoyed. It's probably just panic. We're not wasting a med kit on a nervous flyer. Tell them to lie down and drink water. Tara frowned. She turned to her side and looked at the man in the seat across the aisle. His face was pale. He was sweating and holding his chest. Tara quickly stood up and pressed the help button. A junior crew member came after 5 minutes. She looked tired and bored. Yes? She asked. This man needs help. He can't breathe, Tara said firmly. The crew member looked at the man and frowned. I'll check with the lead. She walked away without touching him. Tara leaned over and gently checked the man's wrist. She was trained in basic field medicine from her early days working with Mars colonists. His pulse was weak but steady. She gave him a wrapped oxygen, stripped from her emergency kit, and asked him to breathe slowly. After 10 more minutes, no one returned. The man whispered, "Thank you." Everyone else just stared at me. Tara nodded. You'll be all right. She noted the time again on her tablet. 7:44 used. Second report added, medical alert ignored passenger status. Chest pain. Short breath, crew action. None taken treated by Tara Lynn. CEO ID hidden. She looked around. No one from the crew seemed interested in this section of the ship. In fact, most of them were gathered near the front cabins, joking and relaxing. Tara connected deeper into the system using her implant and secure codes. She didn't access private information, only ship-wide performance data, air quality, pressure levels, food storage, and flight route details. What she saw shocked her. The ship was 20% over passenger limit. Several life support systems were running below safe levels. And worst of all, the ship's auto-navigation safety layer had been turned off. Most likely to save time and fuel. She now understood. The crew had cut corners. They didn't follow protocol. And they had grown too comfortable, believing no one would ever catch them. She leaned back in her seat, thinking, this wasn't just about her. This was about every passenger on board. The baby beside her cried again. The mother looked exhausted and hungry. The food trays hadn't come. Tara asked gently, did they bring any meals? The mother shook her head. They said we'd get food after the first orbit break. That was an hour ago. Tara opened her bag and shared 2 nutrient packs. These are safe. Please take them. The woman looked surprised. You don't work here? Tara smiled. No, I just believe people should be treated right. Far in the front of the ship, in first class, Kel leaned back in a soft reclining chair. He laughed as he sipped a gold-colored drink and bragged to Rilla and Marco. We've had fakers before, but that one was too easy. No name badge, no loud voice. I bet she works at some space farm. Rilla said, you should have seen her shoes. Probably bought from a Mars discount shop. Marco added, you think she reported? Kel laughed again. To who? Even if she files a report, it'll go to admin bots. We've deleted reports before. Nothing happens unless a director is watching us. None of them knew that a director was watching, the one sitting silently in row 34, the one who built the clean engine systems keeping this very ship flying. Tara heard every word. She added more to her log. First-class crew mocking passengers. Reports of system override for fuel-saving food service delays in back zones. Her face stayed calm, her hands steady. But her eyes, sharp and focused, looked toward the future. The ship shuddered lightly. A voice from the speaker said, minor solar flare detected, stabilizing course. Tara felt the slight vibration in her seat. She waited for crew instructions. None came. Passengers looked around. Some were nervous. The crew didn't speak. They were too busy laughing up front. Tara stood quietly. She helped a few people check their seatbelts. She calmed a child near the emergency door. She spoke gently to the older man beside her. In 30 minutes, she had done more than the whole flight crew, and now it was time to make a decision.